What's up, everyone, and welcome to another Hungover podcast, episode 113. First off, we have to apologize for not putting out a podcast in, I think, over 2 weeks, but that's because we've both been incredibly busy. We're sorry our real lives get in the way of our YouTube lives, but we're really happy that we reached 101 subscribers. Yvonne has finally pulled through and made it to the finish line on his movie, so he's gonna have a lot more time to make YouTube videos for you guys, so be on the lookout for that. Of course,
they're coming.
If this is your first Hungover podcast, I am Julien, one of your hosts, and that is
Yvonne. That would be that one. It would be me. And you can catch us on YouTube, of course, because this is our YouTube lives. But you can also catch us in audio form on iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. And feel free to like and leave a little review on the iTunes. That helps us get to other people and helps you, reform or make more interesting things about this podcast.
Yeah.
As well, we might eventually get back to, having the ability to actually put this on Twitch and do it live.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's possible. Actually, for some reason, my OBS has decided to allow me to stream and record at the same time again. For some reason. I don't know why.
It's just the same reason that my
computer
desktop rig just started working out of nowhere.
Yes, it's working. But today we're going to be discussing the most recent 2020 Democratic presidential debate, which happened on Wednesday and Thursday of the week of June 27th. 24th. Let's go with that. I don't know the exact dates. Yeah, sure. So we're going to be discussing the first Democratic debate, which was kind of a shit show, I would have to say. They had to it was the first time they ever had to hold a party debate on 2 separate nights because there are 24 Democrats running for president, I believe, or is there just 20 now? Maybe
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17,
we literally
18,
have to
19,
count.
20 Democrats were invited
only
to
20.
Both of the debates, but a 21st was not invited to either one.
Womp, 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 womp. So we wanted to discuss just our general thoughts on the debate. Was it a fair debate? was it just for the views? Who knows? And we also want to sort of discuss the Democratic, who we think is the best Democratic candidate, the most likely to win if they are chosen. And we want to, decide who is the the loser of the debate for sure. That's definitely something we have to discuss. Of course, before we do any of that, we have to discuss Yvonne and I. What did you drink last night, and what media have you been consuming? Because that's how we start our podcast out every single week.
Yes. So, based on the fact that I binged so much alcohol last weekend,
oh really?
I've decided, Julien, to go for
broke.
I'm trying to do a month of sobriety.
What? You?
I know.
You?
This will be my 4th attempt at a month of sobriety in my life.
Oh my god. What were the other 3, if you don't mind? I would like to know the events leading up to the other 3.
Every single time, it's not like I go on a binge and I'm just like, I'm never drinking again. It's generally like, wow, I can't remember the last day that I wasn't really
drunk.
I didn't have a drink or I didn't have a drink the next day after that,
Okay.
And after a while, you're just like, maybe I need to let my liver recover a little bit. Now, I think the last time I legitimately went through long periods where I didn't drink a lot, the last time was in Turkmenistan.
Oh, okay. So that was while this podcast existed. If you want to hear
2017.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, Yvonne went to Turkmenistan for about a month or 2, if I'm not mistaken. 2 months. So go listen to that podcast. It's back in our backlog. You can go find it on iTunes if you need to.
Pretty crazy country.
It was actually a really good podcast. I'm glad you... I think that's I don't think there's any podcasts about Turkmenistan. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, if you want to learn about that country, Ivan is your boy. He's your boy.
Multi-entry visa into Turkmenistan is held by about as many people as went to the moon.
That podcast has done the best numbers on YouTube for us. So, thank you for that one, Ivan.
There we go, my dudes. It's all the Turkmeni people trying to figure out who the fuck this guy is.
Exactly.
And then the other stuff. So, the 4 times. This is the 5th, I guess. This is the 4th?
What?
I think this might be the 4th time.
Well,
the very first time I tried to do this, I'd been drinking really heavily in Texas.
Okay.
And
what else is there to do in Texas but
quit
have a
drinking
Lone Star
for 2 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And then I was
Impressive.
going for a bike ride because I was going to start biking to work.
Nice.
In the morning.
Oh, yeah, and then you got hit by the car,
close,
right?
And I got hit by the car.
Oh, so that was a bad omen. Yeah.
Yeah,
no.
So that ended that streak.
It's like, I need a shot of vodka now. Come on.
So then I stopped drinking for a while because I was doing exercise.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to lose a lot of weight. And I only drank like once or twice a week for a good month and a half.
Very nice.
Then the next time I was trying to do this, it was in grad school, and the apartment complex across the street from me almost burned to the ground.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember you telling me about that. That's nuts.
So I popped a
Bad
bottle
omen.
of wine that I've been holding.
Thank God
night,
I didn't die.
Exactly. Thank God I didn't die. Thank God my apartment didn't burn down with all my belongings and all
Oh
that
my
stuff.
God. I can't imagine. I'm so sorry for anyone who's ever lost anything in a fire or anyone in a fire, because that is pure tragedy.
It's devastating.
That's
I
devastating.
Have to imagine.
Yeah.
The next time I went a week and a half. That time I had gone a full 2 weeks. I was entering into my second week. So the first one was like 2 weeks and a couple of days. The second one was 2 weeks and like 1 day.
Damn.
Third time was like a week and a half in, and I broke my rib.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That I don't remember.
So I broke my rib like last winter playing soccer. I just
I do
remember. And I like couldn't.
Of course, it was a soccer injury for you.
Yep.
Okay.
So those are the times that I've stopped drinking, and they've all ended traumatically.
Yes. Okay. That's
so
interesting.
here's to not ending that way and being successful in a month of sobriety.
I think you got this one. Fifth time's a charm. It's a charm. Well,
anyway,
go on.
I haven't consumed anything. I did see Rocket Man.
Oh, awesome! I've heard nothing but good things about it.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, except for now. Let's talk about that. No,
I didn't like it that much. I personally thought that the story was really weak, and the singing was meh.
So you think Elton John is a weak person?
No, it's a bunch of Elton John songs sung by not Elton John, and all I want is Elton John to sing them.
Yeah, of course.
And this is why, like, perhaps Bohemian Rhapsody was less truthful, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how truthful this one is either, because Elton John also executive produced it.
Oh.
So there's definitely a little bit of, like...
Interesting. Didn't know
massaging things, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, it was okay. The costumes are great. There are really cool long shots that deal with a heavy amount of cinematography. There's some cool shots in like water and stuff. But for the most part, it was a pretty mediocre movie that didn't really have a story. It was just kind of like exposition.
I see.
And that's kind of the problem that they had with Bohemian Rhapsody, which is why they created this like fake story about Freddie Mercury and the band and all things. It's the problem that you run into with most biopics. Is that it's really hard to create a through line of anybody's life that, because lives are kind of, there's no cogent string that goes from point A to point end.
Or there's no string that makes sense in a movie, rather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you can do memoirs of, like, moments.
Yeah.
Or, like, vignettes, which is what they tried to do, but then there's no, like, connecting thing other than it all happened to Elton John.
Right.
I don't know. It wasn't my favorite movie. I really liked the way that Bohemian Rhapsody used Freddie Mercury's voice and did this really cool tech thing when they spliced in Rami Malek when he pitch matched basically Freddie Mercury. But this with just Taron, I was just a little. It wasn't for me. I get it.
All right. That's fine. Not every movie has to be for you, Yvonne. If you like the movie, tell us in the comment section below. But just hit my desk, sorry. Is that about it for you?
That is about it for me. I did install Knights of the Old Republic 2,
Very
the
cool.
Sith Lords.
Ooh.
So I've never played that game.
You never played that one? It's a good one. I liked it.
So I'm going to delve into that.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about it in the future. For sure. And of course, be on the lookout if you're a subscriber to the YouTube channel. We're going to be putting up a Let's Play eventually of the $5 Steam Challenge because the Steam sale is going on, which means we're going to have some fun playing some games. That is where I buy a game. I buy a game for Yvonne and Yvonne buys a game for me. And they have to be... Maybe it's a $10 Steam Challenge. We'll figure it out.
We'll set a price point. It'll be bad, but not.
I've already decided on a game for you. Trust me, because it's on sale. It's on sale,
okay.
And you have to play this one. But anyways, for me though, I've been playing some games. I beat Cadence of Hyrule once.
Nice.
It's the kind of game that you end up playing multiple times. Because the map, you can start with different characters. You either play as Zelda or Link in the beginning. And then, and the map is randomized once you start a new game. So it's a different map every time you start a new game, which is cool. And then also because I got really into Cadence of Hyrule, the original game that it's based off of, or the studio made this game, got the license for Zelda because Nintendo was feeling extra feisty that day, I guess. And they made the original game that they made was called Crypt of the Necrodancer. So I picked that game up because I wanted to see what else they had made, and also it was on sale. It was like $4. So I picked it up on the eShop, and that game has some great music. But it is so much harder than Cadence of Hyrule. So if you found that Cadence of Hyrule was too easy for you, and you also want more of a challenge, and you want it in the same style, then pick up that game. It's a lot. That game is actually a roguelike or roguelite. I'm not sure.
Roguelite, right?
It's truly randomized, and you lose all your gear, as opposed to Cadence of Hyrule, where you only lose certain items when you die, and you don't lose all of your diamonds. You don't lose all your diamonds, but you have to spend all your diamonds in the main hub world, which is the currency in the game, to retain certain upgrades or make the run a little easier. But in Crypt of the Necrodancer, everything's randomized in your battle when you go into the certain zones. So that game's super fun, has good music, but it's also really difficult. And I was pretty much playing it just to tide myself over for the most recent release of Super Mario Maker 2, which came out on Friday of this week. So I've been playing it for about 2 days now, and that game is amazing. And it's really fantastic that you can take it on the go. I played the original Super Mario Maker.
Who didn't?
I don't. Honestly, I don't know. And who's not playing this new one now that has a Switch? Yeah, so this game, the original game, was on the Wii U, which was unfortunate for the game because no one bought a Wii U, and it was it was pretty much everything you would want. So this game, and it gave you pretty much unlimited access to many different levels that people created, and people started getting really creative towards the end, I think, once everyone had totally understood the tools at their disposal. This game gives you many, many more different tools at your disposal for creating levels, and you can go on the go with it. And it also has over 100 levels created by Nintendo employees in a sort of story mode for it, which is really cool. So not only are you getting some incredibly creative levels from actual Nintendo employees, but you're also getting access to literally every Mario level you could ever want. It's a 2D Mario level that you could ever want. So it's really exciting. And I actually didn't get into the Maker. I didn't really make many levels in the original one, but I'm finding that on the go, I'm like, oh, what if I did this in Mario Maker? It'd be pretty fun. So it's exciting. I'm currently making a level. And I find that I have much more creativity in this game for some reason. I don't know why. There's just a lot of stuff you can do.
Do you think you can use this to make Overwatch stuff?
No. That would be a stretch. Well, I'd have to think about it for a while. That's a good idea, though. Don't take that idea. Don't make Overwatch in Mario Maker. But there is multiplayer in this game, so you might be able to do it. You could totally do it. It's fine. Someone make that in the comment section below. Post your code so everyone can play it, or at least me. I'm intending to stream it soon. I'm giving everyone their buffer period so they can make their levels, and then I'll stream the game probably on a weekend. So follow me on Twitch. Otherwise, Nikki and I finished Neon Genesis Evangelion, which apparently was released on Netflix for everyone. And I want to have this discussion with you, maybe on a podcast. We've sort of discussed in the future of streaming services, so and ownership of content. I think that's a good podcast to have. So if you want us to talk about that, because what they did with this most recent rendition of Evangelion is that Netflix decided to completely redub the show, and also use their own translation of the show, which is absurd, I personally think. Whether or not you think the original show was properly dubbed or translated in subtitles. So I would like to have that discussion with you. I think they recently redacted, is that the correct word, their version of the show, and they just put out the original translation and dubbing. So
shouldn't they allow you to have the option?
Yeah, so I don't think they gave the option. I think they gave the option of their translation and their dubbing. They do have the Japanese audio, of course, that they didn't change. But as you know, I don't know, actually maybe you don't know, but and I'm only saying this in terms of Russian, right? It's clearly like you can't translate everything to English. So and Japanese is a language that doesn't how to explain it. It's very difficult to directly translate to English. So you do need people who to localize it. And localization for Japanese anime is like a huge market, I think. So if you can speak Japanese fluently, I would honestly, that would be a really cool job. And you totally understand the culture. That's like super important for anime purists or whatever. And this anime is really people picked it apart, obviously, because it's so beloved or whatever. So it's just something that people got pissed off about. Another thing to get pissed off about. But my point is, if Netflix, like, there's no other way to own this anime, because the DVDs are super fucking expensive, and they never remastered. I don't think they ever remastered it on Blu-ray. So it's like this is the cheapest option for you to experience this anime currently, and Netflix isn't necessarily going to have it forever, and they also changed it. So that's a huge thing for me. I think that's how streaming services is going forward. You're only purchasing the license to experience the show, and it's not necessarily the show that someone watched 20 years ago when it originally was put out. So I think that's a cool thing to talk about. And also, Nikki and I have been watching Cowboy Bebop, which is I hope is a show has this. I need to get it on Blu-ray like now. Come to think of it, because if it's going to Netflix or whatever, I don't know. That type of shit gets me kind of pissed off, especially with things like Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion. I would hate if Ghost in the Shell and Cowboy Bebop have been, immortalized. Yeah, you can get those easily. So I still want to get it though, because I'm kind of afraid, but whatever, we'll see. Yeah, so we're watching Cowboy Bebop now. I love that show so much. It's so good. That's my favorite anime for sure. I love that show.
I think it's many people's favorite anime.
Who grew up in the 90s or the 80s for sure. Yeah. I think it also... I also want to have this conversation. I think anime and Toonami, specifically anime that came out, that were aired on Toonami, has like bred a whole like generation of people who are now kind of melancholy and depressed because of the tone of the shows. I feel like Cowboy Bebop is like is kind of, if you think about it a lot, it's kind of like a melancholy show, the themes behind it. It's also super cool though, so whatever. Anyways,
I've never finished Cowboy Bebop.
I think you should do that. But anyways, that's about it for me. You know what else was kind of depressing? No, I'm kidding. The Democratic Debate.
Sick transition.
I don't think it was that depressing, but maybe some people on the lineup are. Yvonne, you didn't get a chance to watch it, but you got to catch yourself up on a lot of it. I only was able to watch Wednesday's debate. But as a rundown, we had 10 candidates on Wednesday and 10 different candidates on Thursday, because having 20 people rambling, 20 politicians rambling on their about their views on a certain question would be pure madness. 10 people was pure madness. 20 people would be unwatchable, I think. Where do you want to begin with this? This was put on by MSNBC. Yeah, it was put on by MSNBC, right? So, and they had Rachel Maddow.
NBC News and
there.
I think there were two.
Yeah,
so
there were two separate
NBC
proctors
and
or whatever.
MSNBC and Telemundo.
Oh yeah, Telemundo was there. Yeah, so the format was 10 politicians up there on the podium, on their respective podiums. They had to extend the stage. No, okay. And they didn't take Twitter questions this time, which I believe they had done in the past. But they basically had meditated questions. I don't know if that's the right word.
Prepared questions.
Pre-prepared questions. Premeditated was about crime. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was premeditated.
And I don't know who came up with the questions, but I assume it was MSNBC and Telemundo and also NBC. So you have to assume there's some sort of bias there. I would say. But I don't think it was like outrageous, these questions. I think they were totally fair questions to ask these people.
I think for the most part the questions are meant to elicit the response and show the candidates, I wouldn't call it bias, but show the candidates thought and policy, if possible, and as would be the majority of the thing, just to highlight who the candidate was, right?
Yeah, I guess, and also have it. I mean, they did ask specific candidates specific questions, but of course, everyone wanted to chime in. But
everyone was allowed to chime in, and that's the thing. It's like, who got to enter? So, the thing about the debate was, it was basically like somebody started answering a question, then in response to that answer, anybody could answer.
Yeah.
And then it was basically who played chicken the best as to who was able to speak the longest and in front of everybody else.
Right, and so this is a very unique debate for presidential candidates anyways, because you typically don't have this many candidates running for on one side for Democratic party holding, the Democratic nominee. So that I don't necessarily fault MSNBC or the production channels for doing it the way they did. I think it was, given the situation, I think they did a totally fine job handling the candidates and also making sure they answered the questions. I think they actually did a really great job with that because, you know, they're politicians. They get paid to talk, essentially, and also obviously make laws and things and govern. But their primary goal is to listen to themselves talk, I feel. But MSNBC made sure that, you know, in their 45 seconds that they actually tried to answer the question. They would call candidates out for not answering the question at all, which is what a lot of these candidates did. I think they sort of got lost in their, I don't even know. I mean, I'm not, we have a podcast, so we talk a lot. Politician is trying to get a point across succinctly, or maybe not so succinctly, in a debate, and they have their notes in front of them, but I don't necessarily know, they can't possibly prepare for every question, right? So the idea is they have to make it sound like they answered the question properly, but they're also vamping a lot. They're improvising on what they're saying. They know their talking points, but they also go on tangents a lot in these debates. So I thought it was really great that MSNBC, the proctor, I don't know what they're called, the people who monitor the debate. Moderator, sorry, yeah. I was thinking of a test, which it kind of is. But
I mean, it's fine. It's
yeah.
That's
don't
not
worry.
Knowing what the proper name of that person's position is not something that is that big of a deal.
Right. So the moderators, I think, did a pretty good job at stopping the candidates from going too long. They definitely went long a lot, but they also made sure that they answered the question. They're like, I'll give you 10 more seconds to answer this question. Actually, you spoke for 45, though. Just so you know. It's like, okay. So I think MSNBC, I think the moderators did a great job given the situation. I think it would be pretty difficult to handle this amount of politicians talking at once. So
it is.
Yeah.
It's a tremendously challenging thing, which is why we needed every single second of the debate in order to like really get to understand the candidates, especially those who we don't really know all that much about.
Yes.
Which is why I think that having an audience was a big mistake.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Because they clap a lot right after literally everything.
I think that it would be much better to have a steady pace of debate without having to interject the clapping audience all the time, shouting out, doing all this stuff.
Right, because the audience claps for 10 seconds after every single whatever is said. Like, I'm the candidate for women and their rights to not have a baby or whatever. Yeah, abortion, that whole topic. And then obviously everyone claps for that because this audience is, I assume, registered voters for Democrats. I assume that had to be, I don't know. How do you get into this debate? Do you know?
you line up. I don't know.
I would assume there were very few Trump supporters in that audience. I'm assuming.
I would assume that it's kind of like
there's probably some
you
reporters
just kind
there.
of are in just get randomly selected, or you put in to be in the audience and then they screen you.
But surely they have some media presence in there as well. You have to have the New York Times there to take pictures and shit for their front page newspaper
For
shit.
sure.
Yeah. So
like media coverage of the thing, I would say allow for cameras, allow for reporters who need to be on site to do their thing. But common people, sorry.
It's all right. We're recording this at 10:30 p.m. Sorry.
Common people who don't have anything more to add than clapping for 10 seconds after every 45 seconds, just eliminate them as a presence in the studio.
Right.
Especially with 20 people. Let's, if there are like 4 people, 5 people on a debate stage, sure, throw in an audience. That makes for good television, things like that. But I want to hear all 20 people. I don't want to assume that Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, just because I have name recognition of who those people are, Cory Booker, that those are the candidates that are the best. I want to hear everybody's opinion. I want everybody to be able to speak. And when you have, like, Joe Biden spoke almost 2,500 words, and Andrew Yang spoke 500.
Wow. Great.
That's a really big difference. And I think that we could have had a maybe not more balanced, but have an increase in speech if we didn't have the audience.
Yeah, and of course, this is just the first debate. I assume they're going to have many more in the coming... I don't know how many of these candidates are going to drop out by then, but
we'll go through which ones we think should.
Yes, and I think they'll have another one probably in November of this year, maybe. I don't know when they typically do it in the fall. And then, of course, next year... when everyone's in 100% full-on presidential run mode, they're going to have another debate. And then they're going to have the actual debate against Trump, we assume. Because why would they have anyone else there, right? When they finally pick a nominee. I don't know. When do you know the date that they have to pick a nominee by? Off the top of your head? Or just the time period?
So, sorry, run that by me one more time.
When will they pick a Democratic nominee?
Oh, well, the nominee is based on how many votes that person gets.
Yeah, when is that vote?
The caucuses.
Is that... Oh, so that's...
the primaries.
Yeah, when are the primaries?
Primaries are generally in the fall.
Yeah, so November, I'm guessing.
Check your local listings for when your Democratic primary is, because they are based on state.
Oh, fuck that. All right, so it's in the fall. They'll probably have one more debate with 20 people before then, and then they will pick a nominee, I guess.
All right, February. Well, no, we'll have a few more debates. We will have at least 3 debates have been given out to...
Oh, wow.
The channels. So
that's a lot.
They're in next month at the end of July, 30th and 31st. There will be a new a second round of debates.
Okay.
In Detroit.
Wow, cool.
Then a third round of debates is set to take place in September.
Nice. Okay, so that's exciting. That's also good news for us. We have 2 more podcasts in the book. For that. We'll see how things evolve by then, but whether anyone drops out for any reason, that type of thing. But Yvonne,
so Monday, February 3rd is the Iowa caucus. And Iowa is the first state to caucus, and then after that it becomes a litany of
that's interesting
things.
So we won't know the nominee until March or April, probably. Or maybe just March.
By March 3rd is what's called Super Tuesday. So Super Tuesday has 1, 2,
has
3,
4,
4,
right?
5,
5?
6, 7,
more.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 different primaries.
That's amazing.
So
Why?
That is including California.
Everything's a fucking Super Bowl, dude. Everything. God damn it, this country is amazing. Anyway.
This country is amazing. I forget what was the last time I said that about this country, but it was some
I love
most
this shit.
ridiculous thing.
I love this shit. This is awesome. Anyway, I don't know. Does any? Well, anyways, yeah. So this was a crazy debate, to say the least, and I think a very unique situation. And it kind of just shows how many people on the Democratic side feel a need to, everyone's taking their chance now because they think that, well, they really have a problem with our current president, obviously. I think that's the general root of it. I mean, you don't normally see this many candidates still in the running.
Yeah, I also
at this point
it's kind of like a toss up between people have a problem with him and people see it as a wide open field for, like, well, Trump got elected, so we have no idea who the fuck else is going to primary.
Yeah,
win the
like
primary,
Andrew
right?
Yang.
Yeah, so
right?
It's kind of the best time to throw your hat in the ring. Because who knows who the correct answer is?
This could be the chance, right? Because who knows? Yeah, exactly. Trump is a wild card, right? So, where do you want to go from here then? What do you want to discuss? We have, I don't know if we can cover everything in one podcast, but
yeah. Well, I mean, due to the format, what we got was a lot of reality TV. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was supposed to be a debate.
A political debate.
Was moderately a debate, moderately just candidates getting name recognition.
Right.
And so
this was their big day.
Yeah. So some people really did win, and some people didn't get any momentum and should, from that, not continue in the race. And they're just crowding a field.
Yeah.
So I think that there are a few people that we should eliminate at this time.
Who do you think that is? I've got my number one person to eliminate is Delaney, personally.
Delaney. Why would you start with Delaney?
I just don't like the way he looks. But I also, I mean, honestly, I really think that he is the most forgettable candidate here. I don't think there's anything interesting about him. I think if all his policies are the same as literally every other candidate, so okay, get rid of him there. And honestly, I really think he didn't come across as a very strong speaker. I think that's really important. Because how else are you going to convince anyone to do the things that you want to happen in this country if you can't speak correctly? Not that he just speaks incorrectly or anything, but I just think he's just a really boring candidate, personally. Yeah. And there's no way that in this political sphere, when we have Trump as our president, there's no way that he can win if Delaney is going against Trump, because this is essentially who you have to beat. You got to beat this guy, and there's absolutely no way Delaney beats Trump. He has no quirks about him. He's a very plain guy, personally. I don't even like his name. And I really think that when he didn't get much speaking time either, so maybe I'm just judging a book by its cover, but that's what probably 80% of voters are doing anyways. So yes, I think you gotta eliminate this guy.
Do you remember who the candidates for president that spoke at the primary debates were the last time? There were 3 of them in the Democratic primaries.
Obviously Hillary's one of them. I think Wasn't Bernie Sanders there?
For sure.
And then I don't know the third guy.
So. Martin O'Malley.
Yeah.
Martin O'Malley is basically the same name as whatever this guy Delaney. And he will be just as unremarkable and unmemorable on a national scale as Martin O'Malley.
Right. So when it's not your policies can, I'm sure Delaney has fine policies by Democratic standards. I don't even know what they are. And so I can't fault him for that. But you're running for president and you're also running against Trump. So you have you have 1/3 of the way there, but that's as far as he's going, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, anyways. So that's who I would 100% eliminate from this lineup. But of course, I'm looking at the lineup and I don't even know like a third of them. So we can still obviously discuss more.
Eric Swalwell.
Exactly. I don't even know who that is. Swalwell.
Probably.
Yeah, okay, I've got his face.
Drop out at this point.
Yeah, because I don't even know who he is, and not that I follow politics a lot, but he's definitely. He ain't going on Stephen Colbert like Andrew Yang is, all right?
He's from California.
Cool.
He's
good.
He's pretty young, and I just think he looked and felt young, and he didn't really perform well.
Mm-hmm.
And I've watched some clips of what he did and what he said, and I think that there's absolutely no reason to consider him an important player.
All right. That's totally fine with me. And of course, you guys can tell us in the comment section below that we're full of shit and these two are your candidates. Imagine we have Delaney supporters and Stalin supporters. Oh god, Swalwell supporters in the chat. That would be amazing if they came out of the woodwork, all 5 of you.
Watch. Amazing.
Anyways, or Molten supporters. Oh, what a name. Look, there are a lot of candidates. I guess we can discuss which are the candidates that stand out to you the most as the most interesting ones. We can shit on people all day, but I don't think.
No, I understand.
Not that we're shitting on them.
There's a limit of space.
Yeah.
Bill de Blasio, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah, just, you know what? Maybe don't even come back to New York City. That's all I'm saying. Get out of here.
Some people that I thought did pretty well or should maintain. For sure, Elizabeth Warren should stay in it. I think Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders should stay in it. Those are just kind of obvious ones. I think Beto is a surprising one that I don't really... There's nothing about him that I like. I think I was really supportive of Beto when he was up against the worst human being that's ever served the U.S. government.
Yeah. That was in Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
When he was running against, what's that guy's
Can't even remember his name.
I know his face, but I can't remember his name.
Wasn't it Cruz? No.
Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz, right?
Yeah. But I don't think he's really showing himself well from these debates.
Well, yeah, this is the first one, but I agree.
Some people who I think got a lot of attention from this. I think I'm happy that Tulsi Gabbard is getting a bit more attention. I like a lot about Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
And I would like to see him continue, at the very least, to be a different kind of voice.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a dog barking outside my window, and I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry.
And I would like, for me, three people that surprised. I think Kamala Harris was tremendous.
She's worked on her
Castro,
end.
I knew about, but I think he showed pretty well.
I think he did great too.
And I still really, really, really like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, as a millennial, I don't think there are many people that disagree with Bernie Sanders that are in our age group. I personally don't think so. I think that he's a really strong candidate for the Democratic side of things, anyways. I personally think that Elizabeth Warren. I really like Elizabeth Warren. I think she didn't get enough speaking time during the debate.
Sure.
But also, I think it's really funny that I think she has great plans and great talking points, but she's all about her statistics, and I really think that's a downfall of hers. Not in, I mean, I agree with her statistics for the most part. I haven't really looked them up. Maybe they're completely wrong, but I think that she gets bogged down a lot when in numbers when she talks about anything, literally. And I really think that is going to hurt her in the long run. I think that no one wants to hear that stuff. That are people that you're potentially trying to sway towards your side, which is, I think, honestly, like this is what it's going to come down to, as it always does, is swing states, right? So she's going to have to convince these states, the people that are on the border, or sorry, the fence, to vote for her or vote for Trump or vote for the independent candidate that always runs. This is how American presidential elections always go. So, or not always, but of lately, that's generally how they go. So I think that she needs to change not her message, but how she talks about her message. I think so, personally. I agree with almost everything that she says, but I also, and I think it's great, I think she has a really great chance because she's also a woman. I think that's really important, obviously. But so I really like Elizabeth Warren, but it sucked that she didn't get to talk much in the debate. But I think she also thought that everyone knows who I am anyways, so she doesn't need to stand out from the bunch in this particular debate.
I also don't think she really mentioned Trump that much.
Also, well, yeah, but okay, when you debate about Trump or the other side is specifically against Trump, right? He's the opposing candidate, and he just eats that shit up, man. you look at how Hillary Clinton tried to beat him, right? She tried to attack him, and he's just like a sponge, man. I don't think attacking him, he's a bully, really. He's like a childhood bully, and the best way to fucking combat that is to literally ignore him. Just make sure your talking points are more poignant and mean something, which literally nothing coming out of his mouth means anything. So, right?
Yeah, but
in some
I
ways,
think that within the Democratic debates,
yeah,
it's got to be a mention that the most important thing is to remove Trump.
Yes, it doesn't matter. Any one of these candidates is better than Trump. I assure you of that. Whether or not they're good candidates is up for debate. But yeah, so no, I agree with you.
There has to be
some
recenter
mentioning,
and a refocus, so that yes, it's important to get policies and name recognition out there. That's why we have such intensive nomination processes. That's why we have so much media coverage, and that's why these candidates hunger for media coverage.
Yeah,
is to have name recognition that can, and just a spotlight on them that can be even close to as much spotlight as gets shined on Trump.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to make sure that people know that the reason that there's 20 people running for president is because Trump is so bad.
Yes.
Like, and if you're not running for that reason, you shouldn't be in the race.
I agree. Yeah, well, we could either split this podcast into two parts like the debate. No. I agree with you. So, again...
What I like about Elizabeth Warren is that she is one of the only people during the debate who had concrete policies. Going back to those facts and figures, she had concrete policy that she was bringing to the table. It wasn't just about name recognition. She was showing that with her name recognition, with her ability to speak, it is not just fluff and facade. It is numbers, it is planning, it is having a fully thought out plan to go through with the things that she's talking about. And whereas a lot of people who are in those debates are pushing themselves and their message to match what Bernie Sanders is, Elizabeth Warren has been closer to that position for a long time and has been an exceedingly stringent champion of consumer rights and the rights of people who are being burdened with the results of the financial crisis. So she sticks to her guns and is great. And I think that her voice is super important for more than just the fact that she's a woman, and notwithstanding that is very important, but that she is such an important champion for those kinds of peoples and for those just having facts and figures. And the converse part of that is when you can, despite having all of that stuff there, when you're debating somebody like Trump where truth doesn't matter, that is where I will agree. Is that the best candidate to go against that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay, you're right. I agree with you. I think Elizabeth Warren would be an amazing president. Of course, I want her to be president. Even if Bernie Sanders is running. I honestly like Elizabeth Warren a little bit more, personally. And it's because of all these, that she has concrete plans, and she consistently has these plans and will not stop talking about and also doesn't really change. Oh, she's such a nag. No, she's great. She is not afraid to discuss these plans with anyone, and that's a really transparent way of getting your point across. And I appreciate that. I think that no politicians really do that on a daily basis, but it's because they have to think about so many different things and how they're perceived in many ways, because they're always working towards the next election. So I think that maybe that's a downfall of our political system. I don't know, but
having to think about having to spend as many hours as it takes to raise money for your next election is crazy, by the way, in this country.
Oh, of course. But when you're someone like Andrew Yang, maybe you don't have to raise money for your next election.
Well, that was the beauty of Trump, right?
Right. What do you think about Andrew Yang so far? I think he's the wild card.
I mean,
he's crazy. This guy's nuts.
I personally think that the idea of the universal income is pretty interesting.
Right.
And would eliminate a lot of shitty jobs that people don't need to be doing, and could free them up to do more interesting and creative projects that they have a lot of passion for. Yeah. Imagine the amount of arts and things that could be
only
more focused
if he
on.
Keeps arts in school,
Right, but the fact of the matter is,
I'm kidding.
If arts can stay, if you have a universal income, then nobody feels pressured that they have to get X and Y, Z job, because they'll have a universal income.
But then who does those jobs?
Then automation is the thing. And then when we get to the point where you don't have to worry about doing those jobs, then you have the ability to reinforce arts and other education because you don't really have to worry excuse me, about cutting those kinds of programs because people will be able to make money and there will be a tax base that can help to, pay for that. I don't know.
If he did the math
there's just
correctly,
a lot of
right,
stuff that can.
No, I believe also he is already, he's currently has like some his own test subjects that are currently getting the 1,000 extra a month. I don't know exactly in what state they are, but he has like a pilot program for it, and he's selected a couple families to give them $1,000 a month. And he said, and just as long as they report what they're using it on, and I think, or maybe they opt in to report it. I don't know. And I believe he said that they're using it on what you would expect them to use it on paying their bills and just having a little extra cash on hand. It couldn't hurt anyone, right? So he said obviously they really like the new I think he's secured at least 2 votes. That's all I'm saying, because he gave them $1,000. He totally bribed them, but it's really interesting that he's really trying to push this as the main attraction as to why you would vote for him, because he'll give you all $1,000 every month, assuming he could get it past, whatever he needs to get it past. Senate and the Congress and all that shit.
I think this is a long-term plan.
Yeah,
I don't think that he'd be able to enact it, so I don't think it's really worth talking about at this juncture.
Yeah, right. I agree. But that's all there is to talk about him, because he's the same candidate as everyone else, I feel like. He's just Asian. Which is also going to get everyone in Chinatown coming out. That's all I'm saying. Coming out to vote, even though they're not registered voters because they're all illegal in Chinatown. I don't know how many are. They have to. I don't know if they're citizens, but they might have their green cards. I don't know how many have their green cards in New York City. That would be an interesting statistic of the Asian population in New York City. How many are illegal immigrants? How many?
They made that question illegal, right? You can't ask if you're a citizen.
Yeah, I know. I'm just curious to find out. My mother's Chinese, just so everyone knows. All right, I can talk like that. No, I'm just generally curious about that sort of where does the Asian, on average, where does the Asian population vote? I think that's a really interesting statistic to know. I personally think that some of the older Asian, and I say Asian as a blanket statement, but it's mostly Chinese, some of the older population vote Republican, I personally think, if I had to guess, based on my understanding of how they work. But that's just my...
I would agree.
I think so, and that's a huge portion of your population in America is Chinese, and I don't know how many Japanese people live living here, but I know there's so many Chinese people here, and I don't know how many of them vote. I'd like to know that, and I would like to know which way they vote, and I'd also like to know if Andrew Yang can convince them to vote for him. I think that would be pretty... I think he has a huge grasp on that. The Chinese will never extradite one of their own, except for that one time when they almost did in Hong Kong. This most recent thing.
Want to talk about those protests.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Amazing democracy.
Yeah, so that's a very unique situation that they have going on with China and Hong Kong. So we can discuss that, but I really think that he has a strong pull for the Asian vote in America, because as far as I know, there's never been an Asian candidate, as far as I know, that has come this far, rather, for president.
Not in my knowledge.
Yeah.
No.
So I think that's
although I don't
totally
know,
unique to him.
because there's the what's his name from Louisiana. He's an Indian.
Oh, okay.
Heritage.
That's cool.
Bobby Jindal.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And also, Andrew Yang is an entrepreneur, so he's trying to get in where Trump has carved his hole in the American politics. So I think that's also interesting. I don't know if it's good for our political system to have outsiders come in, but it's probably good to have outside ideas in a very insulated, stagnant political system in America. I think it's a good idea if the ideas are good. If they're Trump's ideas, then it's not good. But and I think a lot of people can agree on that. Yeah, so we've exhausted. We haven't even talked about every candidate, but that's how much there is to discuss there. I don't think we can cover it all. But keep the conversation going in the comment section below. We'd love to hear your opinions on this debate and where the Democratic Party is going in the future. I think there are some really strong candidates here. Obviously not all of them are strong, but I think there are some really great ideas coming out of some candidates here that could really change a lot of how America operates if anything actually happens in this country. I don't know. So
strong closing statements, Julien.
There we go. That's put me on the ticket. Let's go. We've got enough. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. The 22nd person running for the Democratic
I'm not even
nomination.
35. You have to be 35, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no. Yeah, put me on the 2032 ballot. I'll be there.
Sounds good.
I'm starting
I can never be president.
That sucks, dude.
I know.
That Arnold Schwarzenegger was mad about that too. But it does suck that people I don't know. Does it suck? I don't know. It's about
It's okay
patriotism.
for me. I've got too many of these podcasts out there now.
Yeah. So anyways, we end our podcast every single week in a song in a segment called Hungover Radio. This is where you, the listener or viewer, can send in your music to gaminghungover@gmail.com. Hopefully an MP3 comes our way, and we'll play it at the end of the podcast as long as there's no copyright strikes, And if it's your song, we definitely want to get it out there for people to listen to, and this is just free advertisement for you. If no one picks one, I get to pick one, unless Yvonne has one off the top of his head.
I don't, because I don't listen to game music anymore.
It's true. But I think this one is worth listening to because it's from Cadence of Hyrule. It's a remix of the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time menu theme, and it's actually the menu theme of Cadence of Hyrule. So it's a really great rendition or cover of the song, and I hope you guys enjoy this, and maybe you're influenced to pick it up. I think this developer has done a really great job with the game, and I hope Nintendo is more willing to give out their sacred licensing IPs to other developers, because I think other developers have really great ideas to work with, say for instance Zelda or Mario or Captain Falcon. Bring fucking F-Zero back. But anyways, hope you guys enjoy the song. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. This is about a debate, so we're totally willing to debate with you guys in a civil manner. Keep it cool in the comment section below, everyone, all right? I know politics get people all riled up or whatever. Keep it cool. Anyways, I'm Julien.
I'm Yvonne. Thanks,
Catch you guys next week. Goodbye.